jail's not that bad. It's
All views expressed by the hosts and guests in this podcast are solely their opinions and do not reflect the opinions of their respective employers. Guests and hosts may maintain positions in the assets discussed in this podcast. This podcast is for informational purposes only, and nothing in the podcast is intended to be financial, legal, or even life advice. What's up, guys? Welcome back to More Than Speculation, your favorite crypto podcast. Today, it's just the two of us again. So we just want to chit-chat. It's been a long week, I think, in crypto. In the past 5 to 7 days, the market is up. A lot of things are happening. So let's see what are the things that we find interesting. But yeah, man, how's your trading going? The whole market is up. Is this going to continue?
I have no view on is the market going to continue to go up, but do you think the alt season is coming? Would you consider Sway, Aptos, and a few larger cap popping up as the start of an alt season?
Tough, man. I think there was a chart. So if you go to TradingView, either Total 2 or Total 3, and pretty much that's the total market cap, excluding Bitcoin or excluding Bitcoin and ETH, and it's still not breaking. It's not breaking. It's not breaking out yet. So it's just still basically going down. And I think until we see Bitcoin breaks above the downward trend conclusively, then we're not gonna see like an actual altcoins. We are seeing though like small outperformance by a couple alts here and there, but I think it's still really hard right now. If you just buy a random alt, you'll most likely be somewhat wrecked. So yeah.
I don't know. I think I have a different view for like most of our listeners. I imagine that is very sensitive towards the market or have a little bit of belief. They should be printing either on Ethena, Sway, Aptos, Tau, and those kind of coins basically. But yeah, so I think a lot of people are making good money as a semi-alt market that is not that out that retail can take part in. But yeah, good for them, right? I got a little bit, but obviously it's not a big bag as well. So yeah.
I feel like I'm such a boomer about this. It reminds me of like for our listeners, if you've been in the space for quite some time, you would know like Don Alt and like Crypto Cred, like the two super OGs, like traders, and like they're always just waiting for confirmation, and that's exactly what I'm personally doing. I'm like waiting for confirmation before I want to go back into my gambling season. But yeah, like for like majors and these large coins with a lot of household names, like the one that Lambert just mentioned, it should be fairly well, but I think for the lower market cap, it's still pretty hard to find wins like back a couple quarters ago. But anyway, one of the things.
Yeah, I just want to show you farming again. If you were farming Sway, Aptos, or Tau, like I didn't farm Tau, but like in general, you'll be extremely happy right now. And that's what I'm saying by in a down market or sideways market, you should always farm incentives or farm somehow. Yeah. But yeah, sorry. Yeah, you were saying, bro?
No, like that's actually a good point to kind of like stop a bit. We should definitely try to get people from the Tau ecosystem just to speak a bit more about how do you farm on their chain. But just slightly going back to this topic of accumulating tokens that we believe in the long run will have a lot of resurgence even post their dump. And I think a lot of the L1s and L2 tokens are. They have been struggling so much. So like farming stable positions, which oftentimes it's not just stable, but you are like net long somehow, but it's just not as risky. And then getting those bonuses on top is actually a very good strategy for most people.
Yeah, 100% agree.
I was just gonna segue into one thing that I want to point out, this news item that I think is both crazy and also a sign that yes, the market is getting better, but retail interest isn't fully here yet, which is the Trump's WLFI project. I'm not sure how to even pronounce that, but it's basically like the Trump's token, right? So just to quickly recap for our listeners, a couple days ago, I think 5 or 6 days ago, there was a news article that broke out pretty much saying that the Trump's token is planning to raise 300 million out of a 1.5 billion valuation in a public sale, basically, which is like one of the craziest target that they can potentially have in this sort of environment. Like here, it's just like the first round, it's 1.5 billion, right? And just to quickly recap what the project is, basically, again, like we're not a political podcast, but like Trump has been sort of like tweeting and saying that, hey, like banking system is a scam, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to launch this fair DeFi project that is going to help the everyday Americans and blah, blah, blah. And at first, a lot of people were like speculating on like, what is this project gonna do, right? Like, is it gonna be like a real estate DeFi thing, because Trump is known for being big in real estate? But turns out it's like the exact details are not fully out yet, but turns out it's essentially just a wrapper on Aave, right? It's just a way to get yield and almost like savings rate for the everyday consumers, right? So a couple recap and like takeaway about that project, right? So Aave will actually get 7% of this Trump's token total supply, which is, if it does launch at 1.5 billion, that's 105 million going towards Aave's treasury if they get that at that valuation, right? But that's a lot of if. And they're getting a lot of like interesting advisors / like industry people that are somewhat helping or advising them. And again, for our listeners, you can check this out, but folks like Luke from Polychain, Dolomite's co-founder, they're all helping in one way or another, right? And I think what I want to bring this to a close is basically, right now, as of the time of recording of this episode, Trump's token is only able to raise under $10 million so far, which is crazy. They have a $300 million target, and they can only raise under 10 million. Just as a comparison, right? If tomorrow Lambro tweeted a contract address in Solana, he can probably raise more. I'm just kidding. but it's crazy how it's crazy how these memes from like crypto Twitter KOLs, I guess like on the other side of the KOL spectrum, like a lot of people just tweet a contract address on Solana and then they just get millions sent to them, right? Whereas like Trump's, with like his entire brand towards the normie and the mainstream people, is only able to raise less than $10 million, right? So like, I think the biggest takeaway there for me personally as an observer of this situation is just that there's not much retail interest yet, because imagine if some form of like ICO or like IDO were like to happen in 2021 or even in 2017, like this would have been like closed in like within hours, if not like days. That's what I'm thinking about this. I want to get your take on it, man.
First thing first, if they don't hit 300 mil, what's going to happen? They're going to launch in a lower valuation, or is it going to be like, fuck it, we're not doing it anymore?
I have no idea.
Because like
with this project,
because if you think about it, right, if they're gonna do those in relationship, like the valuation relation to how much they raise project, then suddenly it's like, what, they're raising it 300 mil, then it's going to be actually more FDV, and there might be something speculable for us. But anyways, yeah. So I agree with the market sentiment. The second part is I think Trump has done quite a few trashy projects. So I'm not following this very closely, by the way. So in general, Trump has quite a little bit of trashy projects, like some NFT stuff and blah, 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 that didn't pump. So I feel like the speculative, so a lot of retail got burned there, I assume, and a lot of speculators didn't make money there. So the bigger game were not able to set up, I guess.
Right. You're right. It's because there was no prior track record that shows that, hey, if you ape into this, you can probably make good returns. And I think just the target itself is like, frankly, it's quite lofty. But yeah, I mean, that's.
I mean, if you have like Polychain and Polychain's Luke and everything put in and only raised 10 mil, that means they probably didn't put too much money into it themselves.
No, but like just like to be very clear for our audience here, like we don't know at all if there's even like a fund level involvement. It's just that these are the names that are listed as like their head of platforms, their head of technical strategy, blah blah, right? So like I have no idea what's their engagement with them, but yeah, like it's definitely a sign that a lot of the capital is still like in PvP mode. Basically, it's just like all of us trading against each other, and I think we're still waiting for that flip from macro wise and post election and like all of that. But yeah, man,
funny
like,
if Trump gets sued before Justin Sun gets sued.
Oh my god.
But anyways,
oh my god. All right, it's time to move on. Anyway, so this has something to do with DeFi. I saw here in your show notes, right? Like, what are your thoughts about DeFi, like Resurgence and like all of that?
Oh, you mean author's post, yeah? So Hopium is strong, in my opinion. His thesis is basically saying that interest rates going down, lower interest rate, more people will go for high yield product, the capacity, blah, blah, blah. And then the DeFi UX, are improving, the security is better, etc., etc. But again, I bless him for pumping DeFi. But I feel like DeFi, it's in an awkward stage where I would use it as a tool. A lot of people will use it as a tool, but then token is not a very good investment vehicle for fundamental stuff because you don't know how much of the value gets routed back. And it's so I can see it going bigger, but if that is going bigger, I don't think it's going to be the outperforming sector in comparison to other sectors, if that makes sense. It's too fundamental. It's too fundamental for crypto. And not and too speculative for fundamentals for traditional people.
Right. It's not barbell enough. And just to quickly recap again, we were referring to the DeFi Renaissance article by Arthur Chong from Defiance Capital. Right. It seems like in the past couple of quarters, there's been a lot of like liquid fund managers that are supporting DeFi Renaissance, fairly so, because I think, just to recap some of their arguments for our listeners, that a lot of these tokens are fairly almost fully floated, so there's not as much downward pressure there from like investing or like inflation, and they're actually being used by all of us power users in the DeFi ecosystem. And the argument is that eventually it will normalize and you would be able to kind of like start to see these tokens as blue chip, like fundamental first type of governance tokens that should, like, you can actually invest not just based on future potentials, but based on their current numbers, basically.
Yep.
All right. So with regards to DeFi, I do want to get your take on Hyperliquid. This is the last thing on DeFi that we are going to touch base on, but it's also one thing that we are starting to see a couple tweets from people that they're planning their token launch soon, like all of that. Honestly, I'm not following it that closely, but like, what are your thoughts about it?
First off, I want to shout out to, let me send you the link right now, but I want to shout out to 0x tweet on everyone turning on. Every time someone claim a Hyperliquid airdrop, one American dies. I'm like, yo, everyone is like, I'm getting the airdrop. Oh, I'm not American anymore. But yeah, that shit is pretty funny.
God damn it.
So Hyperliquid is one of my biggest miss. I am a very big perk DEX guy, from GMX time to gains to any model that you named it. I have a series of trading time of doing every single perk fork as well. I'm a great believer back in the days in the real yield, fundamental,
right,
TX wrecked everyone kind of thing. But then when Hyperliquid launched, I got tired of perk DEX. I'm not gonna lie. It was not a strategic decision. It was like, yo, I can't be bothered. It's kind of like so many already kind of thing. And then centralized exchange volume start to pick up. New tokens listed there does get a pump kind of thing. And then it's like people slowly forgot about FTX. And then I felt like the positioning of decentralized perk DEX kind of go away. And in some sense that Hyperliquid's positioning was, it's not decentralized, if that makes sense. But before going deeper, I just want to say that I'm actually quite bullish on it. In some sense that it might be the first semi-on-chain centralized exchange. But yeah, sorry, I'll let you expand a little bit on your point, or on your view on it.
Yeah, no, I mean, so full disclaimer, I work for Primitive. We invest in Avo and Drift. So it's definitely like a competitor in some sense. But they have definitely gotten it right with the whole vault trading. It's not copy trading, but yeah, like basically, if you're a good trader, you can make a vault, the point system, the speed, the user experience, as well as like, I think they were one of the few that list WIF at like 20x and like all of that. So they did all of the, I would say, the go-to markets and the user acquisition side very, very, very well. That entire joke that like Wenmoon tweeted about, they did not ban Americans or like some of these countries from like trading, but now they're not gonna give airdrops to those people. I think that's like that. Like, dude, like we can do like a whole podcast on that. Like we should just get some like lawyers here. But like I think projects should like they should at least have some disclaimer about that in the future. But one thing that I do agree with like Lambro here is that Evaluation wise, it's going to be very interesting to see because I think Hyperliquid might be able to pull off what DYDX has been wanting to pull off since way back when, right? Like they kind of want to show that, hey, we're not just an application, but we are actually like an L1 that's focused on like trading, and you can build other primitives on top of our chains, on top of our technology. I'm gonna refer to this one tweet. Share my screen from Boccaccio, our friends over at Blockworks Research, which I think is pretty interesting. That
You're not
basically,
following
yeah. God damn it, man. No. It's all good. It's all good. But like basically, if you guys remember, a couple weeks ago, Multicoin released a report on Drift, right? And basically sort of laying out the roadmap to which they believe how much Drift token should be valued based on trading volumes, the total market share growth of perp DEXs, and like all of that. So I think ever since that came out, a lot of people were just like trying to use the same playbook and the same assumptions that Multicoin had on that report, and they want to see how much Hyperliquid is actually worth. So I guess like based on a lot of the like CT crowd, that should sit somewhere between 2.5 and 3 billion, which is like pretty good if you've been farming it. But I agree, it remains wait and see, because almost all perp protocols, they lose like 80+% of their trading volume post TGE. So we'll have to see if they have really been able to acquire those users even post the points program.
So yeah, just to add a little bit more color on this, is basically people are saying that you're trading for the sake of getting the airdrop. So that's why after TGE, all the volume just goes away. This is not just a case, and there's always it's not the fact that you cannot retain users, it's the fact that there's always another perk dex coming up that basically make money while you trade, which is somewhere that I kind of did for like 6 months to farm the protocols. I just rotated the various perk to trade and hedge on somewhere else to earn the trading fee and the airdrop and the points through various protocols, basically. So that's why the trading volume, you cannot really believe it. But like, so there's a few questions that, like, I'm not deep in the Hyperliquid topic, right? But like, just to highlight what I think from an outsider, I think they did well. First, the listing, the user experience, the trading vault. I would say the marketing, but I don't know, is it where one of those things where the marketing came before or came after the product being hyped on Twitter? And personally, I think is the latter, just because when I first saw it, I was like, man, come on, kind of thing. So I think from what my friends been telling me, that their edge has been because their background as a market maker, they were able to launch tokens and pairs and more effective, in a sense where a better experience, more pairs, higher leverage, while I guess the house doesn't lose as much money. But like, because there's a reason why a meme coins cannot be listed as such at a low M cap or high leverage, just because it cannot be perfectly hedged easily as a market maker, because you're essentially taking a risk or you're counter trading your traders, kind of thing. I would love to know more detail on this, but overall, as a platform, I think what they did was exceptional. It's a platform that what I believed in, like, it basically like the app chain thesis played out a little bit for them, kind of thing, right?
Right.
And because the way they are open about how they are not really focusing on decentralized, but maybe UX, UI, all the stuff there, it felt like it might be a case of decentralized sex on chain. If I remember correctly, there's a mini time of deposit and withdrawing funds as well. So it's like you're kind of okay with putting money there, yet you feel safe because there's a time lock kind of thing. So it's more safe-ish kind of thing. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents on it. I'll be very keen to see how it plays out, and because I've basically zero exposure on the points, on everything. And yeah, I want to see the TGE dates, the valuation, and the proposal, and maybe I'll try to bid some in the free market just to get a feel for it.
Got it. No, I mean, like, I think one thing that I would just want to quickly add, so the founder, Jeff, he was at Hudson River Trading, which is, again, one of the biggest, like, HFT. He developed algo there. And from what I heard, he used to run his own market-making shop before Hyperliquid. So definitely a lot of, like, these skills in being able to quote long tail assets and support these long tail assets faster than others. I think that's one edge that they have. All right. Anyway, what else is
Actually,
interesting, man?
Just before that, right? I would add, it might even be a justifiable go-to-market strategy, even if they lose money on the market making side, just to lease these assets. But yeah, like that was my initial thoughts on it, actually. But maybe that's just me overthinking it.
That's a fair point, actually. Yeah, because then they can at least get more users to their platform, and yeah, like in returns, like when they eventually launch their tokens, like all of that, yeah, they would make up for the loss. Interesting.
And yeah, so for the next topic, did you play with Off the Grid?
So this is one thing that, so I saw your tweet and you said that you were playing it for 3 hours and you weren't able to kill anybody.
Yes, fucking yes. Like, it's very frustrating. But yeah.
No, let's take a step back for our listeners. So like another interesting news that came out in the past week is this game that was built on AVAX. It's called Off the Grid. Basically, it's like Fortnite. So it's a battle royale style shooter in which you're dropped to a map and you can, you need to be the last one standing. And I'm sure some of you might be like, oh, like what's this? Another crypto game. But I think what's interesting is that they reached #1 on Epic Game Store, if I'm not mistaken, at least like for the first few days post launch. And so I watched a lot of Twitch a couple of years ago, and it's been interesting for me to see that some of these streamers like Shroud, Ninja, Tim the Tatman, and a couple others that were quite skeptical of anything crypto post 2021, and fairly so because a lot of scammers back then, like they are starting to be okay with this. Granted, I don't know if they're sponsored or not, but like there was a lot of viral clips from Shroud, and Shroud is like one of the more respected, he's not scammy, like, like GOAT FPS player. And he said, yeah, this is just like, now you're able to see the historical ownership of your skin, and there's going to be a skin marketplace. And once you no longer like your gun or your character's clothes skin, you can just sell it again. It feels to me like this is the start of a shift in sentiment from like the gamers community towards crypto. What are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, just to add a few unverified stuff that I saw on Twitter. So I think they raised 100 mil or something like that.
It's
I'm not
Godzilla,
sure.
right? I think that's like the company behind it.
Yeah. Then the second bit is, I think apparently they spend like 1 mil or 2 mil just on the go-to-market strategy for streamers to go on. But I actually send the game to like 3-4 normie friends to play it, and they actually don't realize it's a crypto game, and you can play it on PlayStation, which was interesting. But yeah, so thoughts. A little bit background. I used to be a big Axie Infinity player. I used to be in the high ranking of like, I forgot, was it 500 or something, that I tried to climb the MMR thing. So I love GameFi, by the way. I love GameFi. I like gambling while playing some game kind of thing. But it was a freaking shame that I couldn't play this game for shit. Like, I just couldn't. But yeah, 2 parts is, first, it's good for GameFi. Secondly, it might not be speculative GameFi that people are hoping for. I mean, trading skins only go so far if you're in the top tiers, right? It's like, you cannot, like, everyone can issue cards, but Pokemon cards worth the most kind of thing. But it's good to try. It might be able to fund more teams, and it might be able to bring more real game studio that want to build real stuff to try this. And I think this is the first ever AAA games that were able to launch with a live product and live users, right? I think so. I couldn't name another one, by the way. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's you make a good point there about, so one thing that I discussed internally about this launch is that the fact that it did not move AVAX price at all.
Yes.
Right? And
yes.
Yeah, and don't know how you feel about that, but to me, I feel like it's part of this bigger discourse on crypto Twitter on where value accrues. And, if this was 2021 or again even earlier, any partnership, anything that's being done on top of an X chain, right, would impact the price of X chain. But then right now it seems like the market is getting smarter, or just again it's the same old problem, like retail isn't here, or the market now knows that like, hey, it doesn't really matter unless there's like a direct token that's being launched by off the grid, then I'm speculating on the underlying base chain is a little bit too far to actually capture the value. And again, yeah, like I just think it's like that's one interesting point that we can definitely learn from this launch.
Yeah, I have no view towards it. I still try to play, so I'm in like 12 hour in, and I shot 2 guys 2 times and I couldn't kill anyone. But I broke his plate. But yeah, like,
Okay.
but yeah, like TLDR launched in move AVAX price. Good for the game. Hopefully it brings in more people. It's successful because people can't feel it's crypto. It's not good for crypto right now. It's because people can't feel it's crypto. But hopefully more things will happen.
Got it. All right, man. There's one more interesting thing that I want to share with you, and I think this is a little bit of a mindfuck, frankly. So
Can you not swear and
so get
lower
ready,
our
folks.
SEO, please? Bro, we only have like 200 people watching now. Like, please do not
Okay.
kill the small reach we have, sir. I'm begging.
Got it. So okay, so this is a little bit of a crazy story. So for our listeners, if please go to YouTube, then you can see that we're sharing our screen. That might make it easier for you to sort of like follow through what is going on here. But okay, I don't want to turn this into like a 30-minute, like another 30-minute explanation of what this is. But basically, there's a meme coin out there that was pushed a lot by an AI agent that got money from Mark Andreessen. Okay, so let me take a step back, right? So basically, there was this AI agent that was created by a bunch of like really smart people, and that AI agent is tweeting freely, almost freely on Twitter, basically, right? So the founder of that agent only needs to approve the tweets, but all of the thinking behind that tweet was done by the agent itself. So it's not done by human, like all of the shit posting that the agent did, all of the funny tweets that the agent did. It's all done by the AI, and the founder is only approving all of the final tweets, basically, right? So that AI began tweeting freely, began interacting with the broader Twitter audience. You know, it got in like a lot of the tech scene, a lot of the tech folks, a lot of the VCs and the AI folks was intrigued by it. They started interacting, started replying each other, and somehow eventually this agent was able to convince Mark Andreessen from A16Z to give the agent 50K worth of Bitcoin for that agent to somehow use it. And like initially that agent wanted like free itself. It has a lot of like different ideas and blah blah, but like part of the so just to quickly recap, right, part of the crazy idea that the agent wanted to do is to launch its own token, right? It actually tweeted, and you can see that the agent was like eventually tweeting that, hey, I want to launch some tokens and blah blah blah. But then what happened is that, of course, freaking crypto Twitter always does this. Somebody just made a token and shilled that token to the AI agent, and somehow that AI agent fell in love with that token. Basically, like it really liked the whole meme behind that token, and it started pushing that token instead of creating its own new meme token, right? So the token itself is called GOAT. It launched roughly on October 11th. So 5 days ago, as of the time of this recording, and now it's listed as at 200 plus million in market cap. So I think this is like semi dystopian, like Black Mirror kind of like of an episode. But it's really cool to see that this whole social experiment. I think it's just like it further shows that the appetite for attention and for trading memes are just at an all-time high. And in fact, it might even go even higher. So anyway, I'm going to pause there first. I want to get your take on it.
Bro, what is the AI's goal, by the way? Like, is it trying to get attention? Or when you say freely, like there must be some priority to set, like to grow as a account, growing as an account or something like that, right? I assume it's okay if you don't know. Because like basically my question is, if these priorities are not set, are you saying like even AI would become a shiller? Like it's a natural course that if you're active on Twitter, you're gonna be turned to be handsome slowly. like that's just a route, bro. It's like if
That's
you can
just that's just the roadmap. But no, but like to answer your question again, folks, if you're going to YouTube right now, and like credits to this account that's called Safety Memes for summarizing all of the situation. But basically, my understanding here is that there was no like super specific prompt that was given to the AI. Like they can talk to each other, they can do like anything that they want. But the entity and the group behind this AI is indeed trying to show how AIs could create mimetic religions and super viruses, right? So I think it is somewhat geared towards this, but they just did not expect that it's gonna coincide with like crypto Twitter basically.
Because like the reason why I said this, right, is not just because of the money. And the other thing is like because so I don't really trade memes. Well, I basically don't trade memes, but if people ping me a ticker, I might buy it sometimes if I trust you, right? There was a very big point that I felt the need to write about memes because I feel socially lonely on Twitter because no one talks about DeFi and everyone's talking about meme. So even if you're not in it for the money, there's this force that kind of pulls you towards this meme thing, or just like either you talk like shit about it, they say like memes are bad, or you want to say like memes are the best. But like it's, I don't know, is it because of the meme or is it just the trend? And social media has always been about the trend, and trading has always been about following the trend or foreseeing the trend in some sense. So that's why I think it was interesting why a lot of KOLs slowly become meme shillers. Maybe because of the money, maybe because they couldn't handle the sector not being the same sector they are good at, like a bit like me. But yeah.
Right. I think you just touched on something that's like very, very close to a lot of people's like nature. It's just like these days, memes are almost like subcultures, right? Like essentially, if you are terminally online, and a lot of these memes they tend to skew younger. If you are terminally online and you don't sort of like have your own subculture or subgroups of friends, you're kind of gravitated towards this online communities of people that just, like at first they might just say GM to like each other, but then they start pushing the same thing together, right? And I think even doxed and let's say like older VCs are gravitated towards this because they kind of felt the need to be a part of this discourse. It's like meme itself is just meme tokens are just a financialization of attention, and in these days and age, people are trying to be at the center of attention constantly. So like if it means that you need to participate in the meme coin discourse in order to get more attention to your account and to your personal brand, I think a lot of people are attracted towards that, even if there's no like direct monetary value, right? It's because like, okay, if I don't talk about this, then I'm kind of like irrelevant, right? So like that's why you are seeing like some think pieces from some investors about how memes are the next paradigm, blah, blah. But again, there's always like a balance on that. But I think that like, that
it almost
desire
feels
to
like
want
drinking
to be a
and
part of
partying.
it,
It's almost like
yeah.
drinking and partying in the teenage days, right? Like you feel that even if you don't, I enjoy it, but if you don't enjoy it, you kind of just force yourself into because you want to be popular or you want to stay like a normal guy in school kind of thing. And
Yeah, and it
I'm definitely getting this feeling because like my group chat, right? Everyone every day they're sending something out. Sometimes I just buy a little bit of it just to feel the roller coaster with them, even though that makes that this a losing money trade.
right. Yeah, I mean, like I think it's super interesting, and there's a bunch of like upcoming products that are still gonna cater to this side of the markets. Like Pump Fund's competitor, I can probably name 5 from the top of my head, but I think just to wrap this all up, I think when the market eventually goes up, let's say like post-election, because the macro is better, Fed's going to cut rate, China is easing, blah, blah. When the markets go up, I'm still more on the side that memes and majors are still going to win over alts.
I agree.
Yeah.
I wanna put my, because I feel like we are like hyping about memes too much, so I want to put my personal view on this before we end this
for sure.
pod today. You can see with the market pumping, meme has been the first pumper in general for the past few days, so it's a clear trade. I think new memes are typically toxic for our industry in general, just because small amount of people make money. Memes are cool when you're making money. Memes are not good when you're losing money, likely. And So old memes are okay because it doesn't give as quick of a pump and dump people. It gives time for people to build the relationship with crypto. So if people are saying that memes onboarding users, yeah, good for you. But like if people are new to the industry and they're aping like the sub 50k MCAP, 100k MCAP,
Right.
they will get wrecked and they will just hate the industry within the first 2 weeks because they don't have that a few months of like get to know each other and get addicted to crypto. They just straight up get a big slap kind of thing. And that's just my view. That's why I think small memes are toxic to our crypto community culture. Not saying that is a bad tool to make money for some god tier traders, but I don't think we should promote new memes as much.
That's a very good point. Yeah, and on that note, folks, I think that's all that we have for this week. Tell us any feedbacks, any things that you want us to chat about, and we will see you guys next week. Cheers.
Thanks, bro.